Three, two, one, attack. Sean, tell me a little bit more about who we just had on to do the podcast.
We had Justin Michaud. He leads support or customer care at Life 360. And it was a really, really fascinating conversation. I think this was one of the most tactical, practical, how to use and leverage AI as a support team. We talked roles, we talked tech, we talked processes. It was really cool. I mean, I have so many notes, but we spent a lot of time talking about people, and we spent a lot of time talking about exact use cases, right? And I think that if you are a CX leader, a CS leader, if you're on the ops leadership team, this is the episode that you should not be passively listening in the background. This is actually one that I think there'll be some really good takeaways.
Yep. Couldn't have said that better myself. Everyone enjoy the episode with Justin.
I'm Ibby Syed.
I'm Sean Collins.
And this is Numbers and Narratives.
And we are not live, but we are recording. Justin, do you want to go ahead and before I say anything, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Justin Michaud, Director of Customer Care at Life 360, and I've been with the company through the acquisition of Tile, the Bluetooth trackers, for over 5 years now.
That's awesome. And can you tell us a little bit more about the different orgs and things that you support?
Yeah. So obviously there's Life 360, location sharing app, family safety app. There's Tile, the Bluetooth trackers. And then there's also a product called Geobit, which is GPS trackers. And through those three products, we support all three.
And what's the kind of your team look like, and how do you kind of split it? Is it same team covers all three? Is it specialist to kind of how's the team structured?
Yeah, no, great question. The answer now is it's all universal agents. But literally at the beginning of this year, we went through kind of a merging of the teams. They were previously all siloed because through the acquisition, the agents still were siloed. But through growth and as more of the products were starting to merge together, we saw the need to really push that closer and just got everybody trained on everything and restructured the tiers a little bit. So now there's a tier one, more kind of customer service. This handles your, subscription management, your order management, the general easy non-technical things. And then I have a tier above that handles more of the technical things, troubleshooting, something's not working, some settings not being applied, whatever. And then I have an escalation tier above that. And all of my agents are outsourced. I have an internal team of 8 other people other than myself. And those are all basically specialists. I've got a chatbot manager. I've got a BPO manager, training, content, QA, product specialist, escalation specialist, things like that. So everybody on my team directly is very uniquely skilled for different things.
That's really, really cool. And I guess was that sort of the structure that you had, that each of the teams had prior to
the merge?
The merge?
Yeah.
Or was this a whole restructuring that had to happen?
This is a whole restructuring that had to happen, actually. Could get into the nitty gritty of it, but it definitely was not like that. Life 360 only had 2 people, outsourced everything, 1 vendor, 2 locations. Tile had about 7 people internal, outsourced everything. And then Geobit, a smaller company, smaller product, had everything in-house, team of about 15 people, all in-house. So a varying degree of, org structures to have to merge together. And then when that merge finally happened and we saw that we needed to make some changes to things, that's when we pulled everything in. We still outsource everything, but we still have kind of a mix of specialists internally.
Very interesting. Okay, great. That's really helpful context for me. Thank you.
There we go. I had a question, actually. So Justin, when you and I chatted a few weeks ago, I talked to a lot of folks in sort of like not necessarily your role, but sort of like leadership roles, and we're obviously like, Numbers and Nerves is somewhat of an AI podcast, and Sean and I like work for an AI company, and you're like among the sort of like fastest acquirers some of these tools that I've talked to, and I think that you gave me like a really unique perspective for how, like, where you see AI fitting into this stack. I'm kind of curious for like customer facing things versus non-customer facing things. Like, where are you using AI? Where are you finding it to be like the most helpful?
Yeah, so we have an AI agent that answers on like most of our contacts. It handles, to put it into perspective, my AI agent does about 180,000 conversations a month now, and my human agents are doing about 20 to 25,000 a month. So AI agents handling a big chunk of things, and that works really well for us because a lot of what our contacts are general FAQ questions. So it works really well for that. And that's why we're able to have such high numbers. It's how do I add someone to a circle? How do I change this setting? How do I turn off this notification? Things like that, right? Like it's very much follow these steps, get the answer. All stuff that exists in a help center and could be self-service, but people like to contact and to talk it out. And our generative AI agent does a really good job of answering those types of questions. We also have it on the email side. So we have a kind of AI agent on email as well. So if you do get to email us, the first reply will be an automated reply, but that is curated and not just a, hey, we got your email reply. It's, hey, this is potentially the answer to your question, because there's still a lot of FAQs there, and that has a really high resolution rate as well. And if the customer ever writes back and says that didn't help, okay, boom, then at that point it's always a human agent from there on out. It's just to get that first touch and that first chance at helping the customer and getting them the resolution.
So you're getting them something quickly. You basically what you're saying is like, all right, like the most important thing is to provide a great customer experience. If we think that an AI bot can actually do that, we're going to like throw it at the problem first and see if it's like, hey, like, can we resolve this customer's like very basic question very quickly? And if they have other ones, then we loop the human in. What are you seeing like a ton of success with that?
Yeah, and that's that kind of containment perspective. There is 180,000 of them are contained, and only another 20K actually get escalated, right? So really good numbers there. It's containing and resolving a lot of the contacts. The kind of perception is still there's still people that don't necessarily like the chatbots, but that's not necessarily because they don't like ours. It's just chatbots in general, right? I think that kind of is a bit of a learning and a bit of an adjustment that consumers will have to kind of make over time in some ways, because so many times we found customers through the conversations that we're able to look at and evaluate, that they'll get to a human and they're still asking a question that the bot could have answered or did answer correctly. So it still has a very high success rate, even if it gets escalated, right? Because the trust is not necessarily there. They don't think that the bot gave them the right answer. And that's a mix of, different services and, other companies maybe not having really good bots, and customers have one bad experience and then they avoid all of them altogether, no matter what company they're contacting. So we're trying to lead with self-service and AI, and then hand off to customers. So your contact method is in the app, chat with us. That's our chatbot, right? You go to our help center. There is no web form. You can't just submit a ticket like the companies used to always have this: submit a ticket and we'll reach back out to you. Like, I don't have that. I got rid of that. I killed that a year and a half ago. It's only help center, then chatbot. And if you happen to find our email address that's still out there and you email us, we still have a little bit of automation there.
And then just to confirm, so no voice or no call support.
Technically, I've got voice, but it's like 4% of my volume. Very, very, very small percentage. And it's not a public number. It's through the app. Only premium customers can access this option to dial out to us, and very minimal.
Nice. If you don't mind me asking, who or what tools and tech are you using for your chat and email agents?
Yeah. So obviously the main system is Zendesk, and then our AI agent is with Ada. We've been with them for a while, actually. I actually launched with Tile on their declarative bot over 5 years ago.
I was gonna actually
yeah.
ask. Oh, sorry, go for it.
No, I was just gonna say, like, literally 5 years ago next month. Was when we first launched. Yeah.
I used to work for Drift. And I remember like the old days of AI bots. Do you think that a lot of like, ChatGPT, for example, is like a magical experience, but there are a lot of companies that like still use declarative bots, and those declarative bots have like a pretty bad UX because like, I don't understand what you're saying. I don't understand what you're saying. Right. Like it basically, like, unless you like worded it very, very, very similarly, it wasn't able to like do the thing that was supposed to do. And so like everyone can, in the same vein, like using the UX of something like a ChatGPT, but they hate using the UX of like a company's internal chatbot, because a lot of like, I mean, like you're obviously like a purveyor of AI tools, but there's a lot of people in your position that like are like, oh cool, like I've heard of this company, I'm going to use it, and that company still uses like some form of like a declarative bot, maybe, that like makes a ChatGPT request that says, hey, make this output sound more human. And do you think that's like, why do you think that people have this mistrust, and how do you get over that? Like what do we do to our models to like get them to go over that?
Oh gosh. I think the mistrust thing, I think, is something that it's almost always there. I think about it even to IVRs, and everybody hates calling and having to scream agent at some system or representative or slamming 0 or pound on their keypad. Like, I think of that as very similar phase and kind of transition that the industry is going to go through, right? I think over time, those things will continue to get better. And eventually customers will start to trust it more. I think the problem that this is kind of created by is, to your point, right? Like, there's still a lot of companies, and maybe some larger companies that probably should have the budgets to invest in these things and to make it better, but they choose not to. And they just settle for what they have. Even talking about the declarative side of things, right? On our declarative bot, I'm not saying our declarative bot was amazing. My boss has done dog fooding of the bot and found little problems here and there just by the way that he asked the question, right? And then it gave the wrong answer. And then he pings me and he says, the bot gave the wrong answer. And I'm like, oh, well, it's because you asked it this way, not this way, right? Like, so it's a conversation internally of like, how do we continue to make it better? And even my own boss was like always pushing us to make it better. I think one thing that was different for us was that we added a chatbot manager and a person responsible for the chatbot very early on. Like, when I launched with Ada's declarative bot, it was just me at the time. But I think, gosh, I'm trying to remember back, like 6 months in, I hired someone, right? And said, okay, this is a full-time job. I need to bring somebody in to do this. And we invested in that and made sure that there was one person dedicated to that. On my Tile chatbot, there was over 350 different answer flows built into that declarative bot. This was not a set, when we were originally configured and launched, there were only 30, right? So like, they launched us with 30 different answer flows, and we quickly brought it up to almost 350 by the time we removed that bot and moved it over to the Life 360's generative experience. So it to me, it's really what you invest into it. If you want to, if you're someone that's just looking to get some deflection and not care about the experience, then you launch it and you forget about it and you leave it as is. Yeah, you're going to have some crappy experiences, right? But if you actually invest some time into it, you can make pretty good experiences with a declarative bot. And to your point now, though, generative is just so much better. My bot manager is really playing around with the generative side of stuff, and there's some pretty cool stuff coming into the system into the product that we can take advantage of and make some really unique experiences. And it's only going to get better, I guess, is the way that I look at it, right? Like everybody that's upset about a chatbot now, I keep telling them, like, the rate at advancement and development of these types of systems is just so fast. Like, wait a minute and it'll get better almost, right? Like, try it again in 6 months. Don't be discouraged by bots and say you hate bots because you had one bad experience 2 years ago. Try it again, right? Or try a different company's perspective too, and things like that. Another little anecdote is I've been to, customer service conferences, and one of the first conferences that I went to once, ChatGPT came out was I was already launched with a declarative bot, right? But it was still kind of early on, and everybody was worried about hallucinations. And now, fast forward, like I think 2 years after that conference, I went to another conference, and now no one's worried about it, right? Or not as much. And that's because of the development of these bots that they're only trained on your content, garbage in, garbage out. It's only going to hallucinate on your own knowledge and your own content. So the conversation that you then have to have is, okay, why was my content bad? Why did it say this? Let me fix that, right? Because it's not searching the World Wide Web to answer your customer support questions. It's only understanding your content.
And that's where I think I really love the way you've approached this by having a single person who just owns the bot functionality, right? Like, I think all the teams that I've spoken with that really are kind of leading in this space make that exact decision and say, like, we're going to pick an individual to be directly responsible for this thing. And then you empower them to go and, like you're saying, keep trying to make the experience better. Keep playing with, like, how can we stay at the bleeding edge of this thing?
Mm-hmm.
But if it's done by committee, or it's like a broader team initiative
or a side project, like 5% of someone's
you're never
time,
going to actually do it, right? Like, garbage in, garbage out. Why is it garbage? Because everybody's supposed to write an FAQ, because if no one actually owns your help docs, then no one's actually going through every time your design team updates a little flow or adds a feature and makes sure that every place that's mentioned is updated. So it's
and
so
that's another
critical,
thing too. For us, it's not just a chatbot manager that we have that's dedicated to the bot, but kind of what you alluded to. I have a dedicated content writer as well that is responsible for managing the content and the knowledge. And whenever product updates are coming out, she's, making a new article for it or whatever. And then our bot instantly learns it, right? This isn't so the two of them do work pretty closely together. Sometimes the fix for the bot experience is, why did the bot say this? Oh, this article has it worded kind of this way. Let's tweak the article that it learns from. Instead of necessarily coaching the AI to do something differently, it could just be the source that's wrong, right? So yeah, it's really about investing in AI and not just finding a tool and doing the implementation and then setting it and forgetting about it. Like, you have to invest people resources into making AI work for you.
Oh, I love that. And I'm going to transition this to my next question, which is that it seems that a lot of the people that are working with you or working for you now are almost like these, you said bot manager a few times. And my question is that, like, with all of this, like, proliferation of tools and all of the sort of, like, things that you have that you're utilizing models for, how have you changed your hiring perspective? What kind of people are you looking for? And how do you think this changes in the future?
It's a tough question for me because, to be honest, I don't hire that often. And the last time I hired was a QA person that reports to one of the managers that reports to me. And then before that was my bot manager almost 2 years ago. So we don't hire too frequently. We're a pretty small but mighty team, and retention is pretty good. Like, I don't have people coming in and out and trying to change things. So I'm proud of that. But more broadly speaking, what I'll say is, hiring for people that have the skills in some level of AI from some perspective. Yeah, do they understand how ChatGPT works to be able to do their job faster? So a conversation I've had with everybody on my team is always, can you use ChatGPT to help you do this, right? Organizing data, writing articles, coming up with a training curriculum, all of these things. So now my team does that, right? My content writer doesn't write articles completely from scratch. She's taking a PRD from Jira, downloading that into a PDF, and then she's got a GPT created with our style guide and all of this, advanced kind of instructions, and gives it that PDF and says, write me an article about this, right? And then she just has to copy edit after that, right? My training person is doing the same thing, basically taking the same PDP and maybe some additional notes and says, I need to create a training for this. ChatGPT spits out the full training curriculum, the facilitator notes, and how you transition into it includes games and learning, ways to using different adult learning theories to say, hey, when you're talking about this, the next slide should be a quick quiz on it or whatever, right? It's not just words at your face, in your face. And everybody on my team is using ChatGPT in some way to help facilitate their jobs. So to kind of answer your question, if I were hiring, I'd be looking at someone that knows that, like, that has experience doing it, is using it. Give me examples of projects that they've taken advantage of the abilities of ChatGPT to make their product faster, cleaner, more polished, right? Things like that. There's the saying, you might not lose your job to AI, but you might lose your job to someone that uses AI, right? I think is the approach that I would take.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
I remember the last time I was hiring, and there was one component of the interview process where it was like a project, right?
Right. Yeah.
And the one of the candidates was like, "Can I use ChatGPT?" And I was looking at him, I was like, would you use ChatGPT at work? And I think he thought I was like yelling at him and being like, no, you can't use ChatGPT.
Right. Yeah.
And he was like, well, yeah, I probably would. And I was like, cool. Yeah, then do it right now. Like, I don't care if you write code or if AI writes code. I want the output, not the input.
Yeah. And I agree with that. Right. Like, I think, at first some people were worried about it, because you're not doing the work or whatever. But ultimately the business cares about the output, right? If you get the work done and it's good quality and you're at least reviewing it, right? Like making sure that there's, spot checking it basically and validating things, right? Like if you have some AI evaluate data and spit out some numbers for you, this is probably a good idea for you to understand the numbers too and make sure that it's right. Don't trust it implicitly, but like actually go through and look at it. But it's also about understanding how to prompt it, right? And how to ask it the right questions and stuff. So, yeah, I think that's a big part of it now. Yeah.
It's the same way you would treat, if you, were a manager, you shouldn't just take someone who works for you's work at a complete face value all the time, right? Every now and then you're going to spot check thing. You're going to say like, hey, I actually think we should, change this portion of the deck or change this part the way you're saying this or whatever. Like the number of things I've done that have never been reviewed or touched by a boss is fairly low. And why I don't understand why there should be any confusion about the fact that it's okay for you to edit things.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the kind of, to go back to what you were talking about on my chatbot manager, right? The reason I have someone like that and the kind of guidance I've given him is think of yourself like a people manager. Your direct report is our chatbot, right? Is our AI agent. You need to coach it. You need to keep at it. This is not I can't coach you for a week because I'm busy with other things. Like, you still need to make time to coach the AI agent every single week. Just like a regular human agent.
I love that 100%.
Sean, Justin might be like, I think that Justin is like truly in like the top like 1% of people that I talk to that like I think understand. Like, this is I like like I'll hit you up after this podcast. I kind of want to show you like what we're up to, but like we think that like most roles, right? Because like there's a lot of like there's a lot of like any job you see when you start, you're kind of like the lowest of the low, and you're doing all of these like very, very repetitive tasks, right? You're not really like, if you're a marketer, for example, I'm making this up, I've never been a marketer, but like, hey, like, your boss comes up with the cool strategy, and then like the lead artist comes up with the imagery and stuff, and then your job is to like go in and do the painful job of translating the copy into like 1.5 million different languages that you guys like. If you're Coca-Cola, like one guy comes up with a cool slogan and the other guy like writes the art, and then your job, and then writes the copy, and then your job is to convert the copy, right? I think the thing that happens is that like we get to have a lot more people competing for knowledge work rather than task-based work, because we don't have to have 1 million people doing the task-based work anymore. And the people that do the knowledge work and previously did do the task-based work are now in charge of developing these agent teams that effectively get them to work thousands of times faster than they did before.
Right. So,
Yeah.
I think that's the, to kind of bring that back to just contact centers in general, the lower level stuff starts to go away. The repetitive, how do I reset my password? Oh, you click the reset password button and then, follow the prompts. Those types of questions go away for the human agent, right? The repetitive task. And now it becomes the more complicated. Well, I didn't get the email and it's not in my spam. Okay, let me check some things on our end to see what's going on with deliverability, whatever, right? It's the hiring profile at the front line changes, and it's upskilled and up-leveled. You're not hiring, those people to answer those questions. You're hiring people that would normally be those tier 2s, those tier 3s, whatever. And those are becoming your tier 1s in a way. And that tier 1 altogether in many ways is being eliminated with AI. So it doesn't necessarily mean that jobs are being eliminated completely. Some people keep talking about like, AI doesn't have to replace jobs. I mean, the reality is AI is going to replace some, right? Like, I can't lie about that. Those FAQs, like, that could be answered by a human. But I don't want it to, right? I want an AI that's going to answer that because it's a low level, it's not high touch. The high touch stuff, I still want a human to handle, right? The things that are more complicated. So those types of roles will still be there, and still be needed in the industry altogether.
What do you think? Because a really interesting space, I think, is kind of the entry level roles, right? Where, again, to Ibby's point, like, you used to you learn through osmosis for a lot of things by like, you wouldn't be doing advanced things, but you'd be in the room, you'd see how other people are doing it. They'd slowly start to hand parts of it off to you. And over time, that's how you grew into being able to, lead a team or whatever. How do you think about that? Like, because to your point about a critical skill, if you were to hire right now, was how confident are you in your ability to use ChatGPT? Well, let me tell you, the kids in college right now are certainly better at using ChatGPT than like pretty much everybody else in America, right? And so,
probably better than me. Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm no expert, but yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And so I do wonder, like, I think a lot of people have been like concerned that there just won't be roles available for kind of entry level positions. I almost wonder if it's actually just gonna be like, you're gonna kind of be hired, and just the amount of time where you're in a role will be longer because you're like, I guess the breadth of an early role will be bigger because you'll be able to be trusted with more things because you'll have AI to manage. You'll have these resources to fall back on.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it doesn't make you less competitive to be able to do a lot of these jobs.
Yeah, I think the way that I would describe it is that the bar just raises. That's it. Entry level still exists. It's just the definition of entry level moves,
Yeah.
right? You're not doing this repetitive, run this report once a week. It's you've got AI that runs 100 reports for you in a week, right? So it's like one person instead of 5 doing entry level, but there's still entry level, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with your point too, that in contact centers, advancement used to happen pretty quickly, right? Use myself as an example. I started in an outsourced contact center. I did support for EA games and did the Battlefield 3 launch. And now, speaking of, like, Battlefield 6 is coming out, right? So like I did Battlefield 3, I did chat support. I started work at midnight on launch, right? And that was a crazy experience that I'll never forget. But at the contact center, then things started slowing down. But like I branched out and took on and learned more things, more different games as well, not just Battlefield. So I could take other contacts for other games to help and support. Eventually, the contract with EA was being downsized because there wasn't enough contacts, and I needed to move to another account. I moved to OpenTable and did OpenTable support for a while, restaurants and customers. And so I think it was maybe 6 months after starting there that, I attracted the attention of one of the supervisors, and they gave me email access, which was kind of a special role because you were responding to customers instead of just restaurants, right? This was, where's my points questions. And then I became a point of contact a few months after that, which was when the supervisors were out, I was there answering questions for the other agents that might need help, right? And then I became a supervisor. And then I moved out to the West Coast and started working for a different company. But like that kind of that was in like a year and a half of going from just a regular agent up to a supervisor, and then being, moving out and having somebody see the potential in me. I do agree with you that I think that type of rapid mobility within an organization might slow down. I don't think it goes away, but it does potentially slow down because you're expected to do more with less in many ways.
I really like
I
that
love that.
line. The bar just raises. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of proved to be true throughout history. Like when you look at like when the ATM was invented, everyone was like, oh my God, all the people that are like bankers are going to lose their jobs, because the primary, reason for existence for a banker back then was to hand people cash from a drawer. And turns out that like, we still employ the same number of people in the finance sector, so that they do things that are not like disposal of dollars.
I think I read some stat about that story too, that like we actually had to hire more live tellers on top of ATMs, right? Because the
actually really funny.
usage, like the usage
Yeah.
of the ATM was still very popular. Like more and more people were using it, right? Because that's when those debit cards started becoming more and more popular, right? So like just the popularity of the usage became so high that you still needed to hire more humans. It's funny that you bring that up, because I think for me, that in some ways is what I like about the way that I've implemented AI, and I'm kind of proud about, is I haven't had to do any major reductions in staffing with all of this, because the company is growing so rapidly that the top of the funnel is still growing, right? When we joined, when we merged with Life360 was at like, I want to say it was like 37 million monthly active users. Now it's at 88 million. I effectively have the same head count. So like, to me, that's a win, right? Like I've basically maintained the same head count. I've mitigated that need for growth by introducing AI that eats that smaller, low level volume. So it's not just implement AI and cut staff in half. It's implement AI in a way that makes it so that way the agents are dealing with in many ways, the more complex, more high touch things, and letting AI handle the smaller stuff. The easier things.
That's a COO's dream that I just heard you say right there. Basically doubled customer count and kept team size the same.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Keeping the team size the same while growing the company is like the perfect dream, right? Like that's what you want to be able to do. Minimal growth here and there. When I look at my outsourcing budget, it's effectively stayed flat. one year over the other has gone up a little bit. This year might actually come down a little bit, just because we've moved some resources around and things are a little bit different, but like effectively the same headcount through the past 3 years at Life 360.
That's awesome. I mean, I think it speaks to the company, speaks to your leadership, all that too, that, you to your point earlier, you've had great retention. You haven't had to hire new people for the sake of you haven't had to fire either.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, even at the outsourcer level, our BPO has really good retention as well. I think, as someone in my role, I get people from different BPOs reaching out all the time saying, hey, can we talk about, outsourcing or whatever? And I say, I'm all set. And I've even had some of them say, you probably have an attrition problem. And I'm like, no, I don't. My attrition's like less than 2%. I don't have an attrition problem. My team, even at my BPO, is very tenured. On the tile side, some of them have been with us for the 5 years that we've been partnered with this one vendor. Yeah. So we don't have to hire that often because we've got good retention, and the growth is mitigated with AI, so it doesn't grow so rapidly. I'm doing small classes here and there, and that's it.
Love that. Yeah, I think we need to close out because this is incredible. Yeah, Justin, we're gonna have to have you on again. I'm sorry. Like, you have no
That's
option
okay.
here. Like, we have to. This has been like one of my favorite ones. Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, next
for sure.
time we'll do the Cribs edition, and you can give us a tour of the new house fully unpacked.
tour.
And
You'll get the full
we'll
tour.
Have the co-star can come on too, and we'll get to meet the newest addition to the Michaud family.
Yeah, maybe. Let's see.
Nice. Cool. Again, thank you so much for coming on.
If anyone wants to get in touch with you, hear from you, learn from you, anything like that, do you have, besides downloading the Life 360 app and chatting in and saying that they need a human, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean, if they've got questions about customer service, my current email is jmichaud@life360.com. Shoot me an email if you've got some questions about how I've approached implementing AI, and we can take it from there.
Awesome.
Nice. Incredible. Thanks so much for coming on, and everyone else.
Appreciate
have
it.
a great whatever day it is plus weekend. Bye.
Bye.